Yeah. If I die tomorrow, I hope you hear these words. I ain't here to flip no birds or sip no syrup. Hope the future generations can get this urge. Stay woke, youngin', and avenge these nerds.
We are back at the 10:05 hour for a double. Yeah, that's right. I told you we were coming back.
It's almost like we haven't been here for so long.
All right, so I know we did this in the last episode, but we're going to do this for those who are joining us in this 10 o'clock hour. It is the announcements. Make sure you guys are tuning in to Nerds by subscribing on that button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. Why? Because last week we dropped a creative interview with Rob Anderson. And the reason why we say that is that next week, I'm going to dub it Rob Powers Week. Mm-hmm. Rob Powers, the creator of Penguino's Revenge, is coming on the show Tuesday. We're going to have a Kickstarter launch party for his book. And then Friday, his creative series interview drops. What? Yes. And when I say also check out the Nerds Network, it's because the Medusa's Cascade comes out every Saturday. That is awesome for you guys to follow. If you love D&D, make sure you check out that podcast and make sure you're following everyone who is on
your D&D spicy novella.
Oh, yeah. The D&D spicy novella that it is.
Indeed.
Also, too, free comic book day live drawing starting this Saturday. That I will be here. Me, and anyone else.
You're just full of energy today, man.
It was.
Somebody had coffee.
I mean, I'm drinking coffee now, but
I have mine black.
I don't
straight black.
Okay, me too, I guess. I don't know if you can see into the dark side of this mug. So
you guys need hugs, like.
I'm good.
You all right? I had mine black.
No. I had my half and half this morning. I just killed the pot. It was one of those things.
Okay.
I have a reason.
But join me this Saturday, 1 to 5. Going to be doing some free drawing and also too giving out a free PDF for my first comic that I dropped, which is Dead Planet. So make sure you download guys this Saturday. And finally, another Nerds event. The 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are doing a drink and draw. Come join us. Drink and draw. We'll be drawing, drinking. We'll go on to like 10 p.m.
I'll be drinking,
shit.
not
You'll
drawing.
Be drinking. Yeah, you'll be drinking. I'll be drawing. Don't drink and draw.
But that's the event.
But it's the event. It's coming on, having fun. Come join us. These are two events. May is going to be a big month for nerds. Finally, so we're going to be talking about Falcon, Captain America, Winter Soldier. We're going to be talking about it all tonight. And we have a great.
Tony, drop the spoiler warning.
Yes.
As always, we are doing our spoiler warning for the last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. We will talk about everything. Sam Wilson became Captain America. I was incorrect on who the power broker was. I was really pissed off that it was wrong. And we got U.S. Agent, and he didn't go off and kill anybody. Anyway, Tony Stark has died. You have been spoiler warned, so I don't know why you're still here if you haven't seen the show, but it is what it is.
And yes, Laser, more drinking, less drawing that night.
Indeed.
That's Brother Doc.
So first up, we have a great cast that's coming on tonight. So first up, she was on the show. You saw her earlier. She does some awesome drawing. She has the links in our description. She was here last time talking about Captain America Winter Soldier with us. I want to give it up for the one, the only, awesome VMAC.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Oh, welcome back.
What's up?
Thank you.
I'm loving that collection on that shelf right there.
All
them pops.
Thank you. I've changed some things around since the last time. So yeah. Pops, I got the collection of like Adventures 2, Age of Ultron, Simpsons Legos. I also have J. Scott Campbell's Fantasy Fairy Tales collection up top. So a little bit of things. There's other things you can't see in the view, but yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
It's looking good.
Thank you. Slowly but surely. It's an improvement stage right now.
And Arash, coffee or vodka, I'm not gonna say. And he just
I have more pops. You just don't see them all.
She has more than you, Arash.
I definitely have more. You just can't see them all here.
Now, finally, our next guest. They're coming in as a tag team. tag team.
Are we?
Yes.
They're invading the show.
It's our first time with both of them on at the same time, right?
I don't know if this is a good idea.
I don't know if it. They're invading. They came knocking, kicking down the doors. You hear the glass breaking, the DX symbols going off. We want to give it up for the one and only cast members of Comics Cast, Jerel Motos and Joe Toliver. What is up, guys? Welcome.
What's up, guys?
They claim the finale spot with the quickness.
Jerel claims the finale spot at the finale show of the previous show.
Oh yeah.
I did.
So happy to be here, guys.
Welcome back. Welcome
We're
back.
happy to be here. Comics Cast is all about doing our stuff, but we got to get out there. We got to talk to hang out with you guys. So whatever we can do, the thing is, like, we work, but like it's just fun to just be a nerd and hang out. Like that's really that's fun to do. So it's not work when we're hanging out with you guys. So that's good time.
We're glad.
Yeah.
So we want to welcome you guys again. Check out their channel, Comics Cast. The links is in the description, so make sure you check it out. We're glad to have everyone on the show. Amazing artists, amazing guests. So first of all, we're going to deep dive into Falcon and Winter Soldier, the six episodes. So the first question is that Falcon now Captain America. What are your guys' thoughts on the new suit? Did it transition well from the comic pages to the live screen? And VMAC, we are going to start with you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I actually really liked the suit. It reminiscent of the comic. It was so head dead on. It was really good to see on screen. I personally am not the biggest fan of Anthony Mackie. I don't think he fills it well, but it worked out for it. I really, really love the suit. I love the shield. I love the new what's the Red Wing? That's it. Yes, it was really, really good. It makes him more appealing, and I love it. I loved it.
Jerel, you're up.
I'm up. Okay. Oh, where do I go with this?
Got a softball question first before we deep dive into everything.
There's nothing softball about this question.
It's hardcore. But you know what? I do appreciate, that it had the comic sensibilities. They brought that in there. But just like Cap's Avengers costume, I think it's really, really bright. And I don't want to go full like Fox X-Men where it's biker suits and all black and stuff like that. But I do appreciate they had that nod to it. But what I felt was a little bit like it was that little bit of that MCU movie sensibility that was that you saw like in the design of the costumes. You saw that in the movies, and then when you went to like a TV show, I liked what they kind of toned down at the beginning of the season, Falcon's costume and even Bucky's costume. But I just felt like it just didn't translate as well. Can you imagine if that whole battle scene was done during the day versus at night? I think that that costume would just like stand out. But I do see what they're going for. I mean, they want him to be that new symbol of freedom. He's assuming the role, so he actually has to have that punch. He has to really stand out. But I think that it could have been toned down a little bit. And then there's the whole thing about he's a flyer, and I was like, I want it to be streamlined. I want to
talk to the whole show if you let him talk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. It's cool.
All
No,
good.
it's cool.
All good.
It's bulky. And
Good points. I agree.
I want some Wakandan sensibility. Like Black Panther was smooth. I mean, there was like hardly any seams on Black Panther, and this is supposed to be Wakandan technology added into like this new Falcon Cap uniform. So I figured it'd be a little bit of that Wakandan vibe. Still very American, but I kind of wanted that sensibility. But I'm going to shut up now because I talk too much. So I'll pass it on to my partner in crime, Joe. Joe, you tell me.
Well, Sebastian's in charge. I don't know who's.
Wait. Let me take a comment here because Emilio goes, "This is a Captain America survived without a serum. Otherwise, it was looking grim." I mean, he Anthony Mackie showed that he could hold his own, and I enjoyed it. And just to touch up the color thing, I think the color thing was playing how Walker's was dim, and then his was brighter, and it was just showing two different.
I don't think that'll be the final one if they bring it into the MCU main movies. I think they'll revamp it. I think they wanted fanfare comic look, and that's probably. And I think they hit that point.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna stick with it. It does. I don't think that'll transition well on a big screen in the movies.
Like Cap's original costume that they pointed out in the first Captain America movie. It didn't transition well. We got it, but it didn't transition well in his USO days. But Joe, come on.
Joe, first Captain America movie, the bulky one with all the
when he was in the USO. No, when he was in the USO show, when he was the war bond.
A literal costume.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So Joe, the one that was from the 92 movie, made for TV movie, which by the way, that Red Skull is still an awesome villain. If you guys haven't seen that movie, you need to rewatch it. Anyway, my argument is this, and Jerel basically had all the points, and there's no real reason to sort of echo everything he just said. And I'll just say two things. One, I think the MCU has always been really great about respecting and revamping the characters' look so that they look really good on screen, cinema, big TVs, whatever, right? So I forget the artist's name. I follow him on Instagram. He's a great artist, and he's the one that does all of the redesign. And it's fantastic what he's done. I think this has been a huge letdown. Falcon's Captain America, it looks like something you would get from like a Marvel or Disney like pickup store or something. It was hot garbage.
The kids are gonna love it.
It was hot garbage. I was really unhappy with it, and really, really kind of upset. Now, when they went to the digital stuff where he was flying, it was killer. It was fast. It looked great. But as far as like when he was wearing it on his body, it just didn't look good. And he's a toned guy. Like they could have put a suit on him. So story-wise, it didn't fit because you got freaking Wakanda guys putting that thing together. Could have been slick and awesome, and it could have still done what MCU is so good at, which is converting those suits over for cinema. So I was really let down by that. But for the most part, you know, my biggest thing isn't necessarily the suit. So I wish they could have done better with the suit, but it's a good start for sure. But yeah, that suit was just to me, if I was a video director, if I was a sound director, I would have been like, yo, this looks like garbage. Like, you just start over. I would have walked up to the director and been like, I'm quitting this show.
No!
Wow.
Damn.
It's
Damn.
garbage.
Damn. Pop.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Not to make a hashtag Joe Soapbox.
Oh, man. You want to. Here's the deal. Do you want to make the first? You want to make a big deal out of the fact that the Falcon is Captain America. You want a whole show where you're going to have some people sit down for an hour and basically be told you better like this character, and if you don't, you're garbage. Then make a damn good suit. Make a damn good suit. At least make them look good, and then at least I can be upset about the story and what your issues are with the story. And I can't have an eyesore. I'm looking at this suit going, this dude deserves a better suit. Like, it's hot. It's BS. And it just actually made me a little angry when I saw it. I was like, this is garbage.
Oh, yeah. there's some mixed media going on about that suit. Law, go ahead.
Well, I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum.
My law is over here, and that's why Joe is over there.
So essentially, was it my favorite suit? No. Like, I still think the mask, like if they kept like his face showing and maybe had goggles or something, the mask didn't translate well from the comic. Yeah. But the suit itself wasn't bad, especially because I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to show that first issue that we saw back in the day when he first came on. Mm-hmm. So they did a really good job translating that same first comic suit to the big screen. You know what I mean? So that like did it really well. I wasn't mad at it. Is it a suit that I think he should keep further down the line? Not necessarily. I do agree with Joe. Like I did want to see more Wakanda in that suit and Jerel than that they gave us. I think it was in the tech, but not so much the suit itself. But I did like the suit for what they try to do in translating the comic to the screen. I would say like if I had to gripe about the suit, it would literally just be like the face felt off. Like I wanted to like see them go, either commit to like this commit to like getting rid of it or making it feel more flush. It felt like it didn't fit proper.
Like Batman's neck.
Kind of.
Yeah, I can see that.
It looked like a sock with holes.
The suit looked like a suit with elbow pads, knee pads.
It was bulky in certain parts.
Yeah.
I think
Which
it's
made it
pads.
seem like he couldn't fit in it well.
I didn't actually the hat port the head portion didn't bother me all that much, honestly.
I think it was
the way the fit of the rest of the suit, honestly.
Tony.
You're up.
Okay, so we're polarizing already. Okay, so for the suit, I think so. A couple things. I am kind of on the fence with the integrated headpiece. I think it does feel a bit off. Like, I like the suit. I like that it's bulky, not like stupid bulky like back in the day comics, but for what it's worth, the fact that Sam isn't a super soldier, doesn't have any sort of doesn't have any sort of enhancements in him whatsoever. He's literally just straight up human. So has the other stuff from the Wakandan tech. It's not a nano suit, so it's just a bulked up suit with Wakandan tech.
Pillows.
Right.
It looks like pillows.
So there's that. The other point.
Pull this thing up.
So the other point too is the fact that it's really vibrant and bright. I agree, just from what we're used to. But to everyone's point, like, just he's the new Captain America. They wanted the big, bright, shiny new suit before it's grimed up or it's darkened for the Captain America 4 movie, which we are getting. The second thing, and then the next thing too to talk. And then I lost my point. Oh, comparing the suit to what we saw for WandaVision. Like, her suit was really dope. It was way more muted, and the red wasn't as intense, and it made sense for how it looked on TV and how we're going to see it in multiverse. So I think what they're going to do here is probably get it down. I mean, my favorite Captain America suit is the stealth suit from Winter Soldier. That's my favorite suit.
That's the best suit.
That's my favorite suit. So I'm assuming he's gonna be Captain America for X amount of time for the movie, probably. So they'll probably change it up. They'll probably get rid of the head thing too, just to be like an homage to what they did with Chris Evans, since he did not like the helmet. The first helmet, which covered his ears, and they changed it to no ears, and then eventually just didn't have a helmet no more. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at with it. I like the flying aspect. I like that he has the Wakandan tech to protect him using the vibranium. That scene where he covers his wings from the fucking helicopter, I was like, yo, that's really dope. And I love how Sam uses his suit to his advantage with the thrusters and the wings. So I think there's a really good integration between him and the suit. So, but I think, down the line, it's probably going to get more streamlined as the suits have happened throughout the MCU, because they tend to change throughout the movies. Yeah. It took us 10 years before we saw fucking chainmail Cap.
I wasn't a big fan of the bulky shoulders and all that. But I love the
shoulder
design.
pads.
Yeah, but to Amelia's point, if people know who Sam is, won't they go out and terrorize his family? I think the wings already gave it away, to be honest, of who was Cap. But I wanted to get into Batterack the Leaper, but I'm actually going to skip him because, he's a very minor character. I was happy to see that George St. Pierre got to play this character for a longer period of time than what we've seen. And again, I kind of like what they're doing with the TV shows. We're giving people more work. We're getting to see more characters. And even though there wasn't more into his backstory, that was fine. Again, Batterack the Leaper doesn't do much in the comics. But again, we thank George St. Pierre for kicking in, doing what he does best. But I want to get into Sharon Carter, actually, because we had this theory in the beginning, then Tone switched it because he said he was wrong about it, what if she's the power broker? And the thing is, what I want to touch up on Sharon Carter is because she's someone's story we don't know what happened during the blip. And she obviously was not blipped away. So how do you guys feel about her now being set up to be a big bad in the MCU and her being the power broker in general? Jerel, we'll start with you with this one.
Also really quick too, just to throw it in there for your analysis, is that I think in Endgame they said that she was blipped, and then there are some theories going around that she could have just faked that information. She could have faked that information. So
there's another theory that she's supposed to be a Skrull.
But anyway, that's it. Just wanted to
this is probably my biggest beef with this whole series, because I love Sharon Carter as a character. I love the Emily Van Camp. I forgot what her name is. I thought she was a great cast for Winter Soldier. Will always still be my favorite MCU movie, and her whole story, the legacy of Peggy Carter. I just like I can't. I remember having a chat with Sebastian saying, "What if she is the power broker?" And I've been avoiding your shows because I was watching everything late, so I had to watch it later on. I said, I don't know if you guys discussed it. but she better not be the power broker, even though I think she is. And and she turned out to be. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? And I think they almost just did it for the sake of a twist. They almost just wanted to like, hey, let's throw a curveball in there to just make everybody's head explode. It made my head explode. I was like, I can't believe they did that, because one thing, the whole character motivation of Sharon Carter, it's like, yes, she did get like she went out on the limb. She got Cap's shield back. She got Falcon's wings. She did help them when they were trying to escape in Civil War, and she had to go underground. But I just don't think that she would be that morally compromised, like where or she would just like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go the opposite direction of my character. And then even when the blip happened, you saw that she's a fugitive. Cap was a fugitive. Infinity War. And then like when everybody got blipped, it's like Cap was okay again. He was with Black Widow, and then they were trying to like say to figure out what they could do. It's like, why didn't she reach out to like Cap during that time period? I just felt like I think the story writers were like trying to like come up with some sort of like fancy curveball to just make everybody's head explode. And I don't like her as a villain. I think she's I almost wanted her to be like orchestrating Batroc so that she could like help Cap out. I mean, Cap Falcon,
Let me throw another interesting theory then to you, Jerel. There's a theory going on because Secret Invasion is on the table. Do you think that she can be one of the characters that we're going to see in Secret Invasion as a Skrull spy?
Oh, absolutely. Her story is obviously. She was part of the. Now they don't do end scene things; they do mid scene, mid credit things. I thought that was kind of funny. I almost expected there was going to be another scene at the end of the credits, and there's like a long there's not even a soundtrack. It's just credits flashing. I'm like, okay, come on, there's gonna be something else, and I was disappointed. But yeah, she's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah, I think there's more to the story because like we're gonna definitely learn about the backstory. But Ari says, "What's up, guys? What's up, Ari?"
Ari.
Joe, you're the next one up. Again about Sharon Carter being the power broker. What happened with her story during the the blip? And again, I pose that to you too. Do you think that it's something to do with Secret Invasion?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. All right, so by the end of this show, either we're going to be drinking buddies that know we disagree about stuff, or we're just not going to talk anymore. But here's the deal with this. So no, she's not going to be a Secret Invasion because they won't sacrifice a female character of power to be able to do that. Number two, my biggest concern and what bothers me about this decision that they're doing is they're sacrificing a really great character with a legacy to have a show that is a quote unquote minority show to push a female main character, because in the little box that they've created for their minorities to play in, they've decided, well, we need a female lead villain, and they ruined Peggy to be able to make that happen, basically. Sharon, whatever, or the same last name, right? Sorry. They ruined that legacy of that character. They the connection to the Captain America, her legacy in the films to make a female lead villain. That's all they needed, and they wanted a bigger name to do it from the.
They could have used so many other characters, though. I mean,
it's so obvious that it was her from the beginning. I knew it was her from like the first time they said
they introduced her.
I played Mass Effect. Like I knew who the Shadow Broker was. I was like, I played this for hours, and it took me a while to figure it out. You're not getting me twice. Like I knew who the Shadow Broker was. I got it. Okay.
Well, Mass Effect did it way better.
They did it way better.
The Shadow Broker's a really good DLC.
But yeah, they just ruined the character for me. She's a strong character. Maybe she's doing, quadruple agent, undercover thing, which could be a thing. I like her character. I don't mind her kind of living in the gray area, I've watched, Jerel knows this, I've been on a 24 binge for like weeks. I'm on like season 7, so I get gray area with agents, so I dig it. But I like her character, and I hope that they don't make her a full-on villain. Hopefully it's more like she's trying to take down some stuff, but I don't think so at this point. I don't think so.
But no, that end sentence, it kind of, when she's willing to give up secrets and all this other, it's like,
yeah,
What?
I mean, it's I want to get your thoughts on this now, Val. But first, Emilio goes, "How effective is the Secret Invasion going to be if the Skrulls are good guys in the MCU?" I don't think not all of them.
That's
all of
I
them.
think the ones we saw in Captain Marvel were a sect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they were.
Yes.
They were a metaphor for people that are trying to cross borders, but they're good people.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Val,
I mean, that doesn't mean they're all good people. The
Yeah.
Skrulls are not historically
No,
entirely great. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a
I'm
whole
sure we're going to
society.
see both sides of them, just like the Kree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
I
just
mean,
looking at
Val.
Exactly.
but jump in there, Val. Sharon.
what I was so I figured I hinted at it early in. I had discussed with a couple coworkers. They thought her character and her inclusion into this series was unnecessary. They didn't like that she's a human being able to take out a group of guys all armed with guns. It was just very unrealistic, although it's a comic book show. I did not like that they decided. I would have preferred her being more like a double agent type thing, or a someone who was like the liaison. I preferred that instead of her being actually power broker. But I saw it. I hinted at seeing it coming, and I wasn't happy about it. And the fact that they followed through and then made her seem so ruthless about it when that's not her character at all. Like, we know this character, we've known her for years, and for all of a sudden, okay, I can't say all of a sudden, she probably got exiled, she probably got blipped, not blipped, or whatever happened in between. You got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet, and I don't want them to really explore it as much as they did. I don't want to see it.
I think that's one of the most confusing parts. But sure, she may not be a villain necessarily. She did help Steve and Sam, and then Arelis. I thought she was helping them just to get to Carly. Again,
Right. That was the idea, except they twisted it at the end.
Bang.
She might be one of the most questions, but again, we don't know.
She could be a Skrull. I would be happy if she was a Skrull, because then it's
like I
not
said, we don't-
ruining her character, Sharon Carter. She's probably just somewhere else, and this person overtook her identity and is actually manipulating more that we're not seeing. That would explain it better.
Can I make a theory out there? Can I throw a theory out there that I talked to Jerel about earlier?
Go ahead. What's the theory, Joe?
So we're talking time travel, right? Right.
There's going to be a little bit of that.
There is
with
time
Loki.
travel on the table.
So whose grandparents is Cheryl's?
Sharon's?
Sharon, whatever her name is.
Well,
Woman-
We don't know.
Peggy is her
aunt.
grand aunt. Yeah, her grand aunt. She's not. We don't know
Oh,
her
that's
parents.
not her grandmother. That's the.
No,
It's her
Oh,
grand
man.
aunt.
Oh, see, there we go. Then my
Yeah.
whole thing is ruined. Then I thought she might have been Captain America's granddaughter.
Daughter.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then that would have been.
I mean, that would have sucked because they kissed.
Yeah, I know.
We would have had a whole
Well,
fucking Star Wars
See, I
thing.
think Steve going back just splinters reality. Their reality still stays on course as to what experience, but him going back just splintered a separate reality.
Actually, I'm
But
gonna.
isn't that in the same timeline?
No,
But
I don't think it would be. That's
Yeah, I'm
not
gonna-
usually how comic books. Sorry.
I want to throw a theory out there because again, and this is just for people to think about. Like, did Steve going back in time mess with people's characters and all too? Because again, they were warned about stuff like that. And I think also too in Loki, if you notice in Loki's back
Trailers.
in the trailer,
trailer
we're
was
wearing a
sick.
jumpsuit that says variant. So I think this is something that may play. And again, Secret of Agent. We don't know what's going on with Sharon Carter.
You're right.
Law, I want to get your theories on this.
So the scroll theory, at first, when I heard it, I was just like I heard it from the source who came up with that theory, and I was just like, nah, no way. But it would make more sense if Sharon has been the power broker for longer than we know her to be the power broker. So instead of her being a power broker after like the blip and the Madripoor and all this other stuff, she's been the power broker since she's been an agent with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, that would be worse.
I wouldn't like that.
And this is what bothers me when they do crappy decisions like this. We give them excuses for explaining away bad writing and treating
Lazy
characters
writing.
like garbage. It's
But
lazy writing.
if she's a scroll that entire time, it doesn't mess with her character. Yeah, look, as soon as I said yeah, she's a scroll, all three of y'all went. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Listen,
No, but it's
so
it's an excuse to do crappy writing.
Yeah, they basically can say everything that happened in Captain Marvel being in the 90s is an excuse for X, Y, and Z that happened in 2000.
It's comics. It happens all the time, though.
Yeah, it does.
Are we forgetting that this is comics, guys? Like where shit like this happens?
No. What we're talking about here is comics. We have a standard that we accept good writing, or we don't buy the comics, or we
Joe.
buy Image Comics.
Joe, Spider-Man Clone Wars. Spider-Man Clone Wars. That's all I'm gonna say.
But
I
it doesn't
Clone
negate that
Saga.
those comics
It goes-
exist.
it's
You
kinda
not
like
buying
this
those
with
comics
Clone
does not
Wars.
negate
Yeah,
that those
the Clone
comics exist. So whatever they put out as their story is going to be the story that we get.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to suck it up.
What
But
I'm saying,
I-
I don't buy that content. And after this season, I'm not consuming any more Falcon and Winter Soldier because
And that's
it
fine.
turned out to be hot garbage, and it's not good writing. I'm not going to support bad writing and agenda-driven garbage. I'm not going to do it. Like, no, and that's why I don't buy the comics. If the comics are crap, I'm not going to buy the comics. That's the only reason you can say, hey, I communicate with my freaking wallet. It's garbage. It's garbage.
I
And
wouldn't
we-
say it's garbage. That's extreme. It wasn't that bad.
I was actually I came into this season going, okay, I'm timid because I know what Disney does with the comic book series, but I really think that the MCU understands what they're doing with these characters, and I think it's going to work. And for most of the season, I was totally sold. I was like, that they're doing a great job. You know, freaking the Falcon is earning the shield. This is fantastic. Like, and they're making everything make sense. It makes sense why Bucky doesn't have it in this series, even though they go way back. There's a whole lot of PTSD. He's not ready for that leadership role. Like, they did it really well. And then that last episode, I was just like, I'm out, man. I'm out. This is garbage.
No, but it's your no, please.
But yeah,
Sorry.
I'm it's one of those things where, like, did we need her to be the power broker? No. Is she going to be the power broker? We've seen yes. So I'm just curious to see where they go with it. I don't really have a like hard like, oh, this drove me nuts, or like, oh, that I really enjoyed it. It was one of those things where I'm like, all right, if you're gonna do this, like, what's your play? Like, what's the end game for her? So I'm just interested and curious to see where that goes, because I think if done well and if done with care, it can actually turn out to be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Tony.
All right, so I would have preferred if Val was the power broker. It just
Yeah, you did.
I would honestly, because it makes more
It would
sense
make more
to
sense.
have
Mhm.
someone, because we knew the power broker wasn't going to be a crazy reveal or a crazy new character. It was going to be someone that was there and they're making them power broker. I think using Sharon was a bit of a letdown. It made sense to make us think she is and how she's living in opulence in Madripoor. And you get the twist and no, it's Val, because one, she's Madam Hydra and she's just around in the background, and you don't need to explain how she became the power broker. She just happens to be the power broker and she was there. With Sharon, we then now need to know what happened. And we don't know, because then if we don't explain what happened, we have crazy theories like she's a Skrull, or she faked that she was blipped, or she was the power broker when she was in S.H.I.E.L.D., or was she a Hydra agent that turned when she realized that Cap was gonna beat out Hydra? There's so many like little things about Sharon being the power broker that we need more info, and it was just used as a shock value when you could have just used someone else, a low level Marvel character like they did with Val. And I think having Julia Louis-Dreyfus do it and being a riff off of Selena Kyle from Selena Meyer from Veep would have done the job for me, because I can buy her wanting to kill all the Flag Smashers. Because if you've seen her in Veep, you see how much of an asshole she is. She's fantastic. It just translates really well. And then she's the one who's running U.S. Agent. So like we know the power broker gave U.S. Agent his super soldier serum, and that kind of all just would attract better for me than Sharon Carter, where it kind of felt just like we're going to make you think she's the power broker, and then we're going to give you the twist, when I would have been fine with just she's a gray agent because of what happened, and she's dealing with the repercussions of getting the shield and wings back.
Right.
And that's what happened. And then she's now going to be a gray agent kind of in the middle, but now she's the power broker, and it's like, Now, I need to know. I just need to know.
She's a scroll. She's not really Sharon Carter.
That's all.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
And also the thing with the scrolls too, because Secret War, the whole point of Secret Wars to work too is like for you to get those reveals of who's a scroll and who's not a scroll. Like that show's gonna only work if those twists have impact. Like that's it. Otherwise, just gonna be like, this isn't this person, so they're a scroll. And like, I don't want that in a show. I want to be surprised. I want to be questioning myself the whole time. Are they them or are they a scroll? Like, I think Emilia Clarke is a scroll. Like, you get a big name actress like that, automatically red flag. She's a fucking scroll. And if she's not cool, I'm wrong. But from the jump, she's a scroll. She's like a main scroll because you got Emilia Clarke. You got fucking Daenerys here. All right, cool. Bet. She's not just a human.
Val, jump in there, Val.
Who do you think she's going to play otherwise? I mean, what role? Because if she is a scroll, she'd be Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
Spider-Woman was a pivotal role in Secret Invasion. I just think that it would only fit for. She doesn't have to be anything. I don't want them to even pursue this storyline with her being a power broker. I'm hoping they can just say, yeah, she was actually a scroll. She wasn't really, and you save Sharon Carter somewhere else, and she's been locked up all the time. Well, if you're here, then who's then this girl? You know, it's just, I would prefer them to clean that up, move on from it, and let's go a different direction. Because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
Not with the Sharon Carter name, the legacy it holds with Captain America, and then just that character. Marvel has so many other people that they can explore. Bring in someone new then. It didn't have to be...
I think we're all in agreement that that they didn't have to do this switch because of the fact that we all like Sharon Carter, we all like the character. We don't know what they're doing.
It was like with WandaVision, we went down the rabbit hole of theories and reveals and who's gonna show up on the next episode. And then in this, it was like, nah, plain sight. Plain sight, man. That's the power broker. And
I had more excitement with WandaVision than I did watching Falcon. I enjoyed this show. It's good. It's okay. It was like a long movie. But I had more excitement with WandaVision. I liked the anticipation. I liked wondering where they were going. It wasn't as obvious to me as to what was happening.
You know what's funny about the WandaVision thing is I'd love to go back and watch it again because I didn't really enjoy the first few episodes. I would enjoy to see little bits of because you noticed them.
You'll see a lot more. You'll realize I've seen it 3 times already. I went back and watched it because I was putting someone else on. I'm like, look, let's just watch it again. And I'm like, okay. You know, so as I'm trying to get people like pushed into it, you realize a lot more that you didn't see. And it was like, oh, now that makes sense. And it totally fits. It worked throughout the entire thing. I'll probably will go back and see Falcon and be like, oh, okay, now I see this. And I don't know. I enjoyed it for the most part. They did it well for me. There are things that I would have done differently. I did like the fight scenes in the last episode, especially with how he was utilizing his wings, fighting against Carly, holding himself standard, being able to incorporate the shield with his own normal actions and movements was really, really cool. And that was fun to see because he doesn't get that shine that he would had behind Captain America in the past. So I'm excited to see where they go with his character. But that part with Sharon I could have gone without. I want to see Winter Soldier, more of that. I like their dynamic together. So far,
he took a back seat.
We're gonna touch up on more characters because again, I agree with everybody. I think Sharon Carter.
You got to take a stance with that. Come on, man.
Was really. I'm just listening because I'm loving this. But again, touching up on Ari, one thing I often think about is that they're writing for 2 audiences. Think of it how non-comics people would react to us being a scroll. Listen, I don't. We know it's just again we're going to go past Sharon. Because again, we all agree it wasn't great writing with Sharon. But let's get into Carly. Let's talk about Carly. She was viewers.
Carly.
She went beyond redeemable at this point because again, we all wanted to see Carly get redeemed. She was very irredeemable. But her story, which I feel like in her arc, is someone who was a cautionary tale. One's belief can radicalize them. Because again, like at the end, she was full-blown radicalized in that episode. But at the same time, her character was used. How do you feel about her character being used in those 6 episodes, especially at the end, that the message was this, is that you don't want Carly 2.0 to come out. You need to be the people listening in the room, because that was really the message. No one was listening to this girl, and she got radicalized and everything. So how did you guys feel about Carly's arc? How did it end? And the fact that, she dies at the end, and Sam again talks about the speech of, we need to start listening to people. Decision makers need to be there with the people in the room, so that this way we don't see people like this again. Again, Joe, we'll leave with you with this one.
First off, I don't care what her name was. She's a damn terrorist. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care. The whole coming down like an angel holding the dead terrorist. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. These people came around. They were killing people. I don't care. And the whole little speech about, we need to watch what we say, terrorist, and then he says thug. Like, come on. This is ridiculous. They were terrorists. They killed people. U.S. agent was out of line for killing one of the terrorists. He was still a terrorist that killed a bunch of people. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we talking about on this show?
In this scenario, I don't think the idea behind the idea behind this is after people go away, get blipped out, how do you repair thousands of people appearing? And they literally was going to just kick them out and send them to refugee camps and figure it out. Like, see ya.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that happens in real life, and we maybe not to that extreme, but I think that was the idea, is just not black and white when it comes to things like that. These are people's lives, and that's what they were trying to show.
But also
they still kill people that are innocent, and I don't care. I don't care.
Hold on. We got
the one thing that I think the show did on purpose was show who on the Flag Smashers were killing people, and they literally only showed Carly killing folks, setting the explosion, and they do a job to show that her main squad around her was looking really apprehensive with her, like,
they're like,
what do you mean?
Yeah.
So, like, to your point, Joe. Hold on. To your point, I get when you say Carly herself is a terrorist, but I can't group them all together as murderers, because the show only gave us her as the one killing people.
Flag Smashers that run around blowing stuff up and killing people.
No, it was Carly. Because because what happened was this. Remember when Carly got into the car, that episode when they robbed the food bank and everybody was tied up, and she blew it up, and then one of her peoples was looking at her like, what the fuck did you do? Like, what did you do? She's like,
generalize all Flag Smashers, then everyone who helped, everyone who looked at the app, would you group them all as terrorists?
Yeah. So here's the deal. It's definitely
they made the point to show.
Right? Yeah, they made in real world it's a mixed bag, right? I've been in countries where there's freedom fighters that are good, and then within 2-3 years they turn into a terrorist group. Like these are real life issues. Like, have real consequences, and even if you start off for the right reasons, you could turn into a terrorist group really fast.
And I think that's what the show was touching up on. To your point, because
but the problem is when you go down that hole, that slope, right, where you start going, okay, well, we shouldn't use the word for terrorist because she was fighting for freedom, and you're just a bunch of guys on the hill, just legislating what you want for your pockets. Then a show that is clearly all about communicating messaging, they are messaging negative bullshit that I'm not going to stand behind. And I'll definitely be like, that's bullshit. Like, that's just stupid. Like, come on. Like, she was a terrorist. You're not going to come down with angel wings, especially when your battles up there just got shot and you're not even going to help her, like, get up. You're going to.
But here's the thing. I mean, again, the message at the end when Sam, again, her body on it, like, there's agreement that she was irredeemable at the end. That is the big agreement, but it was the message saying that, again, our legislators do need to listen to the people, and that we all need to work together. Otherwise, if we're not working together, we're going to keep seeing this song and dance over and over and over again, and it's just going to get worse. So that's where the message was at when it came down to this character. Again, as far as it goes, she was irredeemable at the end. What she did was wrong. Her actions was wrong. She was the villain in the series. But again, it is her actions on what Sam said. Like, listen, we all have to get together because we don't want this happening. But
I'm just not buying the Sam. All the entire thing where Sam's like communicating with her and being like, "Hey, you need to stop what you're doing." I always saw her as a villain from the beginning. I didn't see his character until they took over his character and put him in this show. He would have not sat down with her and been like, "Let's talk about all the issues that are propelling your movement." Like, nah.
But what is your feelings with Carly and everything?
I think he touched base on some things. Yes, she's a terrorist. I mean, I don't think we need to play nice with them. She should have got locked up or whatever. But at the same time, it did open up a conversation as to where, how governments work, or where they don't take into account what people lives are really like in real life, not behind an Oval Office. So I think that's where it opens that up. And it's not like she was doing things to help other people who needed the help, things that people that got forgotten about. The eventual direction she went, I wasn't surprised with. I mean, I expected her to die or at least get locked up or physically dismembered. I don't know, but she wasn't a strong character for me. I just don't think that villains make a good show, and that didn't come off entirely. I didn't feel for her entirely, but I also didn't hate her on the opposite side. It was just another character kind of thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I was indifferent for her. This show didn't excite me. It's just, I liked it. It was good, but I didn't have the same. I'm more excited about Invincible than I was for this show.
I still have the last episode of watching Invincible. Do not ruin it, please.
I'm not okay. I won't say anything. But that right there is a whole different conversation. But I enjoyed it. It's good. I'm not mad at it. I don't have the same excitement behind it. That's all. There were certain things that lacked.
Tony, I want you to jump in on Carly.
Jerel, did Jerel go?
Oh no, we're gonna go, Jerel. Jerel's next. I'm changing up the order.
Oh, okay. Because I know we usually do guests first. That's all. Thinking about it, I think I agree with what VMAC is saying, that she's not an exciting villain. She's not. Like, she's literally a face of a movement. Mm-hmm. I think that the show, while I enjoyed what they did with Sam, I enjoyed what they did with Winter Soldier. I liked how they brought in Isaiah Bradley and all that other stuff. I do enjoy all of that. I don't think we get enough about what, I think the CRC or whatever, we don't get enough about what they were doing. Like, we know there's a 5-year gap, and we get the idea of people blipping out and governments just coming back out of nowhere and everything. But I don't know what is going on to justify an entire movement. Like, based off the show, we see it, and clearly she has a platform and she has a following that we see when you do the shit in Central Park and all those people show up. But that's just how the show progresses, and to show that she's going to do something in New York. I don't know what this council was doing, because this council was created for the show. It wasn't like this council was created in Endgame and like we knew this was going to be a thing, and how there's like things happening, like even in WandaVision, you get like little bits and pieces about it, because we got the bits about S.W.O.R.D. and what they were doing, and we talk about what the CRC is doing. They literally made this for the show to bring up your antagonist, and I don't know, aside from the displacement of people, and that part I get as a reason why these things are happening. And I get that the angst these people feel when people are gone for 5 years and they're trying to struggle and they're trying to live, and all of a sudden everyone who was gone immediately comes back and they try to bring back the status quo. On paper, logically, I get why that would cause a movement and a stir, and why we would get a villain. But I think we could have gotten more from what was going on with this organization to try to bring the status quo back. And I think that's kind of the failure we got from the show. I mean, granted, and that's fine. Not everything's a home run, but and I think that does Carly a disservice as a strong villain. But from the jump, we knew that she was going up this mountain of getting worse and worse and falling deeper into the ideals of going from what will be considered a freedom fighter and then going over the ledge and becoming now a terrorist, especially after that scene of when they blew up when she blew up, not when she blew up and made the conscious decision to do that, saying these people only understand violence.
Right.
And
Yeah.
And then she ends up dying, and Sam has his piece and everything. And there are bits and pieces there, sure, of like the next person, and we should be listening and we should be doing what we need to do. But sure, like the fucking world essentially ended, and then 5 years later you try to bring it back as if nothing happened. Like that's also insane. That's literally insane. To just imagine that Thanos didn't show up and ended the world for 5 years. So, but yeah, I think if we knew what this organization was doing and how they weren't helping, to then give, it doesn't even have to be a lot. It can just be like a montage. Just give me a little something about what the CRC is doing to justify this movement and why it's so strong across the world.
Well, and this just only 2 seconds. I'll be right off. I just want to respond to that real quick. So the only thing is for that, and I think this is what you were talking about, is basically thin writing. So what you find a lot of times when content is produced specifically just for messaging, what ends up happening is the story ends up lacking because the focus is on the messaging and not the story. So with these characters, they're basically, I look at them like they're so thin, and the backstory and the concepts are so thin, they're just thick enough to write your message on. And that's why your stories end up suffering, because these things are just props to be put in place just to put a message on it. And that's the reason why the motivation isn't there. Her character actually could be pretty cool if they had just done a whole story on itself, just of her. I would actually have been more interested in them doing 5 episodes of that and explaining that, and then coming into maybe this show. And then they would have explained the blip. It would have built a new character. And that actress is badass. Like, she could hold her own.
I mean, Pete
series.
agrees with that, because Erin Kellerman played a role of Enfys Nest, and she's always with the bad guys and everything. But again, that's her role and all that. But Jerel, you're up next.
Wow, that's all I gotta say. I think, Carly. The whole, I think it's CRC. I don't know.
GRC, yeah, some acronym, right?
Whatever it is,
global something.
Yeah, whatever it is that I think this is like a Game of Thrones last season issue.
Oh, yeah.
They could have added a couple more episodes to make me sympathize with the villain. You know the villain I sympathized with? I sympathized with Zemo. Zemo was badass.
Zemo, I loved. They let him go so early.
Yes.
Zemo made sense.
But see, the way they built him up correctly. You understand, like, his whole coming back to Sokovia, that whole scene summed up why his motivation. I could not sympathize with Carly. I couldn't understand the depth of what was happening. It was explained. They had that little commercial about how everybody was displaced and there was these camps, and then they showed like people in like gear and like military and stuff like that. I couldn't get behind it. And then you see Carly at the very beginning of the show, and she looks like she's on the run. She looks like she's a fugitive, and you want to sympathize with her. And then she goes completely ruthless, and you don't really get why she does it. Even when they showed her at a camp, you don't see her she's interacting with all the refugees, and I still cannot. They didn't do a good job of making me sympathize with her cause, and that was where it was lost, because you couldn't sympathize with her like Thanos. Of course, it was built up over 10 years, but with Thanos, you knew what his he was a hero in his own story. He's a villain, but he was a hero in his own story. I just could. It's like Carly knew she was doing bad, and then she even. I don't even want to get to the point at her last line. I'm sorry. Why didn't she say Sharon is the power broker? I mean, it's like, why didn't she just say that to Sam? That would be that's the ultimate parting shot. You just shot me 4 times. I'm going to tell Sharon Carter is the power broker. I just was thinking this is the thin writing that Joe was talking about. I want to sympathize with her as her cause, and that would make me think the story was much richer. It would make me compelled to sympathize with her, even though I know she's wrong and she's a terrorist. It would make the point of the tragedy of her death, to be more poignant to me. And that's what was lacking, is I couldn't get behind her. I couldn't understand that. And I think if they had a couple more episodes, maybe an episode to explain how people were really affected by the refugees, how they were affected by the blip. I mean, I understand that people have come back in and everybody wants the instant solution. Let's put all the people that were re-blipped in, put them in a camp. And they're going to have to be, I understand that, but I just didn't get that.
That doesn't make sense because all those kids came back in Spider-Man and they went right back to school.
I think we touched up on that on it.
Yeah, how we deal with the blip went from very comical and Far From Home to really serious in WandaVision. And I think while WandaVision made sense for us to get a flashback episode, just the way the show was going, because we kind of wanted to know what was going on. Right. This one, we could have had one episode. And I would have been fine with a flashback dealing with Carly growing up and with Danya, and see why her death is so important to her to do it. Because we just needed something. I think
and just like Joe said, I didn't care. Carly, I didn't really care about her cause. Right. It wasn't because she was a bad actress or anything like that. It was just that I don't think they did a good job of explaining it. And then you had like the faceless politicians, and you had everybody that was doing these certain things, and then they just threw things in. I think if they just added like maybe 2 more episodes to help flesh things out, that would have solved a lot of these things that we were talking about.
I think I'm in agreement with that part, because again, they probably should have had at least 1 or 2 more episodes. It's a Game of Thrones thing. Law, what did you feel? Did you like with that settlement with Carly? And before Zemo is the OG Random Masters of Ebro and broke his foot off in the Avengers ass on a net. He did. Right. He did. Yes, he did, Pete. But Law, please take it away with Carly.
I agree with everyone where we don't have enough to sympathize with her, but I think they did give us enough to understand why she's going down the route she's going. We have enough context to know with the reflections of what story they're telling with the modern day life in real life, that like this is how to make a villain 101, essentially. Like as we're seeing this, and I've been calling it since day one, she's gonna either have a redemption arc, she's gonna die. Like there's gonna be something where we can either see her go a few different ways, but I called that this was one of those outcomes, and it worked. Was it a satisfactory death? No, but I think like from the jump, when she like really started to lean into that, villain persona, and like this is my cause, this is my everything, it was like, yeah, there's no coming back for you. Like as soon as I saw her with her other with the other Flag Smashers, and they're starting to look at her questioningly, like in this last episode, I was like,
ready to throw it all in.
She's ready to throw all in, and I was like, okay.
I don't know. It was just like
gonna die.
And from one episode to the next,
it
was just
but like they did leave the breadcrumbs for us to know, because even Sam in his conversation with her, he's trying to say like, listen, you are literally one bad day away from being these guys that you hate and you vilify yourself. So you're seeing her not be this true villain when they're literally creating a villain in front of you.
Right.
It just depends on what side of the story you're on. Same thing, like you said with Thanos. Thanos is the hero in his own story. Carly truly believed that she was doing what she believed was right and for a just cause, to the very end. And then we have
kill somebody. Nobody should care. Boom.
Nobody should, but people did.
People believed in her. The thing is that they're watching her do this, and they're all still shocked every time she does it.
They're all still shocked because they want to believe that the ends justify the means.
Right.
If what she did got the ending that she sought out and that she wanted, and that they wanted, then she would have been in the right, and they wouldn't have batted 2 eyelashes at her. Yeah. They would have said that was a fucked up way to do it, but we got it done.
Right. So what are the writers trying to tell us then? Are we supposed to come away with this saying that she was in the right? Like what are we? Well, what are we?
The writers, absolutely not. Because the writers, again, they still wrote that she was a terrorist. She was a terrorist that was there. What her character served purpose was that, listen, we want to avoid people becoming radicalized like this. We want to avoid this from happening again.
I don't
We
know.
Seabass brought up that the conversation that Sam had at the end with the politicians. It was like, this is how you get more of this. So unless you guys and the people that you are trying to help and affecting without actually doing anything about it, sit in the same room together, nothing's gonna get done. And it's a lot of band-aids for shit that needs actual medical treatment.
And then again, it goes back to that we all just have to get back to having a fucking conversation now, because again, people are too busy. And I mean, over the last few years, people are just too busy shouting at each other. We need to have the conversation again. That's pretty much it. But I want to get into because I know, like, I love Zemo's arc. I love the fact that Zemo had the last laugh at the end. He blew up the guys and all that. Because again, Zemo believed again. I can't wait. I can't wait to get Zemo's stuff going on. I can't wait to see what they have for him. Again,
cough, Thunderbolts, cough.
Yes, cough. We're gonna see that.
Dark Avengers.
We're gonna get into that too. But I really felt more for Isaiah Bradley's character because again, I want to give a big shout out to all the veterans out there, all those who do serve in the military, all the unsung heroes, because Isaiah Bradley was showcased as one of those warriors who was unsung. He was pretty much out there fighting and everything, and his story wasn't known for his heroics. How did you guys feel, especially at the end when Sam also told Isaiah's story? Yeah, I want to get everybody's feeling about that and knowing that there are veterans in histories whose story is not told, and we don't know the heroics a lot of veterans have done out there who've served for this country. I'll start with you, V.
I was emotional watching that scene because it doesn't fix it, but it shows a step where his story gets put out there, and it gives people more of an idea as far as what's going on. And in real life, as far as there's so many people who serve that don't get that special acknowledgement, I mean, it's just sad. And I thought that was a good way for Sam to kind of bridge that gap, to kind of get him to see where it's actually worth fighting for. I mean, and that's one of the things that I liked about that story arc in that side.
Joe, being a military member, how did you feel about, again, that whole scenario?
So
Isaiah finally getting his story told.
Yeah, so for me, most of that sort of stuff really was frustrating because I don't like it when Disney decides that if you're going to write a minority character, they can only think a certain way, act a certain way, and have to have certain causes.
That's not a minority character. We're talking about in general.
I know. So what I'm talking about is at the end when he's recognized. That was the best scene. That was the best moment of the entire series for me. And I actually went to tears a little bit watching that, being recognized, because there are a lot of people throughout history in our world, in our existence, that are not recognized because of whatever their religion or skin color. They're just not recognized, or they came from the wrong place, or they served in the wrong era, whatever. And it's not until their grandchildren are being recognized for what they did, because when they were around, they weren't even barely allowed to eat with anyone else. So that was really emotional for me because I lived that. I've existed in that space, and I know how bullshit that is. So that was a pretty powerful moment for me. That was my favorite moment in the entire series, for sure, or the season rather.
Jerel.
Yeah, I think that Isaiah's story. I think that I like the arc, because but what I didn't like is how they kind of portrayed him as kind of like this crazy guy at the very beginning, and then at the end, he's Sam makes that statement. He goes, "Why don't you clean yourself up, and I want to take you someplace." And I'm like, and then you can see that they really made him look like he was on the edge at the when they first portrayed him, and then gradually they show him, and I think that's part of it. They wanted to show that he's coming to terms with what was done with him to him, and then he's getting finally recognized. And I think what I thought was like, well, it made me think like they were trying to say that the U.S. military or the government, everybody was like just out to get him, and it was almost like this was like one example that was going to be a blanket statement, and I was like, it's not that way, and I just felt like stuff like there were some really powerful lines that were written to Isaiah's dialogue that made me really think, and I think that's part of the good thing about this show. It definitely was thought provoking, and it brought a lot of emotions out there that a lot of people suppress and maybe don't acknowledge. And but the one line that I really just totally wrestled with, because I want to like believe that we are moving towards something better, that we are willing to put our differences aside and go forward. But that one line where he says they're never going to let a black man be Captain America, I was like, wow, powerful line, very powerful line. But then that speech where Falcon gives at the end, where he goes, I'm a black man wearing stars and stripes. I'm what is it? He says, I'm not blue-eyed and blonde-haired. I thought that was like so like just heavy. It was like really, really heavy. And I don't know if that was, I guess, the best way to like express it, but definitely was in your face. And I think it's good because it brought things up to the surface, which would make people think a little bit more about it. But just wondering how that made everybody else feel, because being a minority myself, it makes me think more broadly, I guess. But that was just such a powerful line that I really just kind of like left with my eyes like, how do I respond to that? I don't know. How did you guys respond to it?
I mean, I'm going to speak with that because, again, it was, to me, I think everything, and I want to bring up Emilio's comment because, again, the relating to Isaiah Bradley, it took Puerto Rico getting its own governor for the U.S. to stop experimenting on the people on the island. So Isaiah's story was getting him recognition and sacrifice, and his platoon sacrifice. That's a big core of me and minority. Yeah, and that's something I'm recently learning about now more of, because again, been studying a lot of these topics and learning more about what Puerto Rico would happen. And yes, it did strike a chord because these stories were actually written in the 80s that they're pulling from, because even then they were saying when John Walker first became Captain America, the United States government was thinking of Falcon, but they're like, yeah, world's not ready for a black Captain America. And that was in the 80s that they wrote that. And to me is that it did strike a chord with me because I didn't know about racism growing up because we didn't see that. We're all a big mix of a mixed culture, especially coming from New York. It wasn't until I traveled out of New York and then that happened.
You talking about Puerto Rico? Puerto Ricans?
Well, no. Well, I'm learning about Puerto Rico, being treated like,
because I was gonna say we're all Puerto Ricans on this thing.
Yeah, we all are. We all
look drastically different from each other.
Puerto Ricans owes every. This is a Puerto Rican panel right now because the Puerto Ricans are every. Jerel, you're Puerto Rican. That's it. It did strike a chord with me though, and again, it's just because at the end of the day, like I said, I've been someone because someone has seen me as a person with darker skin than them and have been treated like shit. And I don't like to think that the world is that way. That was never my reality. Another reality is when I was pulled off the bus by a police officer, and to see my friend who was an African-American, how terrified he was of the police officer. And I come from a family that, there are members of law enforcement. And I had asked him, and the way I was treated, I asked the officer, why was I pulled off the bus? And he looked at me and goes, shut the fuck up. That's literally the response I got from him. And again, it was like, when I worked with this guy named Richie, the stuff he got away with, and this was years later, the stuff he got away with, I was like, I couldn't get away with that. I would be thrown on the floor. And again, that's why those lines struck with me. And it was like, and I'll be real, to this day, it's like, I don't want to look at someone and fear them. I want to look at someone and be like, you know what? This is another human being. This is a human that I want to talk to. We're all human, and that's our race. But that's, besides the point. I mean, because I'm about to tear up with that. I'm sorry. Tony, please go with that. What do you feel about Isaiah Bradley?
Oh, jeez. Okay. To everyone's point, it was very, very, very powerful, and I felt a great addition to the comic book series. It felt it was the other side of the coin that Sam needed as he grew into becoming Captain America. Him dealing with one of his ancestors saying, no black man would do this. And then, talking to Bucky and having that conversation with them, that's saying we didn't know what this would be like, and he deciding to take on the mantle and deciding that I'm going to do this, and I'm doing this, not just for them or not just for you, I'm doing this for everybody. And then having, the courage for him to go on the screen and doing his press conference or whatever, and just saying those things to the senators and making it known and like making it out there, saying that I know I may not be the guy for you, but I'm still going to be the guy. And I'm still going to represent us. I'm still going to protect us. I'm still going to protect you. And I think, and Isaiah coming to terms and them having that conversation in the garden brought peace to him, along with him getting the recognition that he does at the Captain America exhibit. So while it was only, he only had like a 4-episode arc, I'm glad we got to see that, and we got to see that growth for Sam. So, so everyone's saying it's a very powerful and needed scene. And I think Sam's growth wouldn't have been as good without Isaiah in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Law.
Yeah. To piggyback off of that, I think Sam's resolve to take the shield was like built by that conversation that he had with Isaiah, where he was like, not so much to prove him wrong, but to just show him that it could be done. And I think in doing so, and then having the speech later on, like, it really showed a side of Sam that I was like, there you go. That's why Steve picked you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then we later see him talk to Isaiah. It's like, all right, I got something to show you. And having that like relations, like starting to build that foundation of like, it doesn't have to be set in stone. Like, things can change. Mm-hmm. We just have to allow them to. Because we saw with their last interaction, like Tone said, there were two sides of the same coin. And like for me, I've seen those conversations where you could not tell either one that they were wrong, because to them, to their truths, they are absolutely right. So seeing Sam take the onus and make that happen for Isaiah, however small a gesture, was huge for him. And I thought, like, giving that sense of not only recognition but a little bit of closure for Isaiah was like beautifully done.
So I want to touch up on the podcast because this episode is heavy, man. Because this series, has been heavy. It's been,
wait, did VMAC go? Did you go?
VMAC went.
Okay.
Yes. But I want to touch up on a fun question, because I want to end this with a nice fun question, a nice fun run.
Well, before you go to a fun question, can I add one thing?
I want a beer from you, Joe.
One thing. I know. I'm it's a triangle. Everyone's against me. No, I'm just playing. No, Jerel's like the one that agrees, but like is nice and doesn't want to say it in like a way that's contrary. No, my issue with Sam is that the way they decided to write this season was almost a completely different character. That's my only issue. Like, I would have liked this season. I would have liked it a lot more if it was just a total different character, because it just doesn't fit with the veteran soldier that came in, who served his country along other soldiers. And if anyone knows anything about the military, one of the things that you get from being in the military, and it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you have bad experiences. Sometimes you come across some racist piece of garbage, and you're like, that piece of shit. And then guess what? You find out that your battle behind you, who could be any color, creed, whatever, is going to be like, yeah, that's a racist piece of shit. Let's fuck him up, right? So when he comes from the military and he's a veteran, he's been downrange and he's done all that stuff, we meet him as a strong veteran that is like, I'm Captain America. I do everything he does, just slower. So he is a great character already. And what ended up happening with this series is they made the character into somebody else. And that was my biggest issue with the story. And it represents to me what Disney does basically with Marvel characters that were traditional Marvel, then Disney purchases Marvel, and then they make characters do a different arc and they change direction. That was my biggest issue with the series, because Sam's great. Like, Falcon's a great character. Sam was great in the movie series. He was a strong character. there wasn't this undertone of either frustration from history of bigotry or anything like that. Like, I can understand if they had touched on it and been like, okay, if you're going to be a black Captain America, you have to understand that you're going to have to bring together a divided group, that some people are going to hate you, some people won't. But like, he came from a place that was very different than the Sam character that we knew from the movies. And that was my biggest concern. That's
I think I think it's more, I don't think he came from a different place. I think he had a different hurdle to come over.
Yeah.
It's this particular scenario is not what he's experienced in the past. He's not only grappling life after the blip with his family, where he's from, and then on top of that, this mantle isn't just, you know, being him. This is also Captain America's legacy on top of that. Right. And living up to that part is not something that we've seen him come across. So it's just a different hurdle. I don't think it was so much like it was completely another character. It's just that you're seeing a different thing he has to now face.
No, I agree. I totally understand. It's a total different hurdle, and it will bring out challenges that you will never seen in a character, and it will challenge a character that you know. My concern is that what I'm saying is that I do believe the way he handled that adversity and that challenge was acted out by a specific chain of experiences that I don't think he had.
Well, we don't. Well, here's the thing:
to react the way he did. So I'm just not buying that movement with the character. I think it's too far outside of that character's frame of reference, where how he would have reacted to that situation. And,
I don't think so, because the thing is that what the shows are showing is that you're very limited in what you, and we had this conversation earlier about Mortal Kombat. With the TV shows, you can explore more the character, where the movie, you're limited in what you can portray for the character, because you have,
when you have so many at the same time.
Whereas if you're doing the show, now you're breaking it off, and we don't know Sam's experience. And like I said, these are stories they're pulling from the 80s, and also too, before Marvel was purchased by Disney. At the time, I remember going to a New York City Comic-Con panel, and they said that this is one of the things they wanted to do, was try to bring diversity to their characters, because they realized that these were questions they were asking at New York City Comic-Con, the fans. And this is before it was like paneling and everything. This is like 2013, 2000.
Yeah, diversity is always a good thing.
Diversity
is definitely not the challenge.
Yeah, but I want to go into the fun question, and this is the final question: is that Bucky is at the cookout? He is at the cookout.
He's welcome to the barbecue.
Oh, we know.
I feel like Bucky organized the cookout. Like, let's be real.
Again,
we need some brands.
Are we seeing hints at Sam's new brother-in-law?
Oh God! I already talked about this.
I would hope not. I think that'd be weird.
Was he not looking at those kids like, "Oh, I'm gonna be your new daddy"?
I'm just happy he's smiling again. That's
I'm happy to see him smiling again. If it happens, cool. But like, it doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have to. But I just think it was a funny joke. I mean, did everyone see those memes of Bucky becoming the new brother-in-law? I want to get
for sure.
No, I didn't see that.
I haven't seen any.
But I've been off Facebook.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
They've been really funny.
Okay.
Listen, like I said, he
tag me in a few.
He didn't get invited. He was the one who organized that cookout.
I just
Hashtag White Wolf.
Somebody needs to get Winter Soldier some, I don't know, barbells or something to lift, because he looks like he lost like 40 pounds from the movies. Like, he's got little tiny.
He isn't as big as he was.
Like, I was like, what is the deal with this character? Like, they've made him look so much smaller. It was really weird. I don't know. I'm not a fan of what they did with the.
He wasn't working out during pandemic.
I also think too that there's been time since after Endgame, so like, and he's just like going to therapy. He's not really doing. He's not active as he was. You know what I mean?
Hero stuff.
Super soldier serum.
No, my man. It was all the sake and stuff like that with the old man.
No, he's supposed to maintain a specific physique. He took some off season, pandemic time. I mean, I don't think he was at his best.
He was not at his
physically, but he still looked good. I'm sorry.
He looked good.
So, I want to thank you guys again. So again, I thank you guys for coming on the show. Listen, everyone, I want you to follow VMAC. Definitely check her links out. She is an awesome, dope artist. Check out Comics Cast. They talk to great creators, especially have that show in Let It Out on Sundays, where Joe gets to put Jerel through hell by having him draw with their guests. But I want to give my final thoughts again. I had something written down, but I really honestly want to point out to this. This was something that was, took a lot for me too. Was I love that you saw unity when you have Sam with Bucky at the end. And it showed that those two are brothers. It didn't matter what the melanin of their skin was. These were two brothers. They went through it all, and they're going to continue to go through it again. That was what I took away from the episode. But again, I thank everyone for coming on. This has been your host, Sebastian.
Yeah,
I was muted. My bad. I was like, why can I find mute? It's your boy Law.
Tone from across the hall.
All right.